Shamet. Shamet for three. Bingo!
Carter will get it for the win. Got it! He is hard to believe.
Here's Jordan.
Yes! The Magic, a 360 turn with the dribble. Magic down the middle. Gives underneath to Worthy. Slam dunk.
Third in the corner. Double fake.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another night of 2022 NBA playoff recaps. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe on YouTube at Dime Dropper Podcast, Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, and of course, to follow us on all social media platforms at Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Dime Dropper Pod. So we're going to continue every single playoff game I'm doing every single playoff game in this playoffs. That's my goal. Obviously, I did not do the regular season the same way I did in year one of Dime Dropper. Only followed really the LA teams on a night-to-night basis. Even the Celtics, my adopted home in Massachusetts, did not get much Dime Dropper coverage this year. But in the playoffs, I promised I would do every game. Even if I miss it live, I'll do it the night after. I'll make sure I talk about everything. So let's obviously recaps varying in detail per game, but most of them are pretty thorough, I'd like to say. But let's start with the games tonight, or let's begin with the games tonight. 3 of them on the schedule. I'm getting really tired of these 3 games a night because it's part of the reason why I've been going live a little bit later, because I record all the games, right? And then I kind of try to alternate between what's happening in the first one and the second one, but I pause it. So I'm always behind a little bit to make sure I don't miss anything. Because I could just watch it live, but then I just probably would watch like maybe half of each game as opposed to every single part of the game, and then I just go live a little bit later. But tonight's games were Miami and Atlanta game 3. Then we had Phoenix and New Orleans, and in between those, Chicago and Milwaukee. So all 3 of them game 3s. Let's start with the earliest one, the Miami Heat and the Atlanta Hawks. I've talked about both of these games already, the first 2 games. The main thing that we've noticed is the Miami Heat's defense on Trae Young. Obviously, in the starting lineup, when they have Bam Adebayo out there, they can switch everything, and they have been doing that. But they've also been loading up on defenders where they may not think they have the best chance of guarding him, like your Tyler Heroes, your Duncan Robinsons, or sometimes even Max Strus, who actually has held his own for the most part in this series defensively in every single way. But they've been sending multiple bodies at Trae, loading up, trying to make other guys beat them. And so far, the guys have not beat them. The Hawks are already shorthanded with Capella out, and they had him out for a 3rd straight game here tonight. But there was a change in approach tonight from Atlanta, and you've got to assume that Nate McMillan had a talk with the team, had a talk with Trae Young. A lot less of Trae just on the ball running pick and rolls. Even though he's stagnant off the ball, didn't move much, he was off the ball a little bit, and it let other guys get going early. And Gallinari and DeAndre Hunter did a really good job of actually taking advantage of some mismatches. You already know Gallinari has the post game, the mid-post game, and he was going to it. Had a couple of buckets in the first quarter. DeAndre Hunter, I think it was against Kyle Lowry. He got the ball around 8 feet away and, kind of in an 80s basketball-like position to catch the ball. Just turned and faced real quick, one motion, went up and scored early in the game. Another time, also in the first quarter, had Max Strus on him, hard drive right, behind the back snatchback, foul line jumpers. So I've always talked about on this show, if you guys remember, the Atlanta Hawks were a dime dropper team last year. I've always been big on DeAndre Hunter's game. And he showed why tonight in the beginning of this game. In addition, I thought John Collins was good. He got some decent post position on some mismatches himself in that first quarter, and he was aggressive. He was lively. I thought the Hawks defense was a lot more lively. They're going to, with Okongwu, they're going to go into drop coverage. They don't have switching personnel like the Miami Heat do, and that obviously can be at a disadvantage when you move the ball fast. And somebody who got off to a great start for the Miami Heat was their man, their guy that's been doing it all series long, career game in game 2. That's Jimmy Butler. And in the beginning, he had a couple of nice pick and roll reads and drop coverage with Bam Adebayo, pocket pass, another one sidestep to the corner for a jump shot. And he was making the right plays. And he was even getting double teamed on certain mismatches because the Hawks were actually switching DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Huerter, and I think Collins onto him. I'd have to go back and check the tape. But the point is they were switching some guys onto Jimmy, but making sure he saw multiple bodies. However, the Heat were making him pay in moments of the game. Max Strus was one of the guys that made the Hawks pay all night long. He had himself a good shooting night. 7 of 13 from the field and 5 of 10 from three. And in the third quarter, that showed the most. But it was a fairly even game to start. The Heat went on a little bit of a run, got an 18-10 lead, but the Hawks ended the quarter pretty well. And it was a 2-point Miami Heat lead after one. One thing you noticed, too, in the first quarter, the Heat were trying to involve Trae Young and Kevin Huerter in the action a lot on defense. So they'd bring Trae over, and Trae was guarding P.J. Tucker for a lot of the night. P.J. Tucker and Max Strus. P.J. Tucker was primarily guarding Trae Young, and man, did he do a job. He was frustrating him. But a couple of times, Jimmy Butler put Trae Young in the action. Trae Young was showing, recovering, and at times they were still getting, they were getting good looks off of that. But the Hawks ended on an 8-0 run to end the first, and that was partially because of Bogdanovic. In the fourth quarter last game, we talked about how he kind of almost took over and won him the game. And in this one, he had a couple of nice shots going towards the basket and at the end of the first quarter. One of them was a really nice turnaround over his right shoulder. I think it was on Tyler Hero off the glass. It was beautiful. Second quarter, this is when the Atlanta Hawks made one of their runs. The role players started hitting. Kevin Huerter from deep. And I just want to say about Kevin Huerter, he is a good shot maker. I like his skill set, but he has a tendency to take some really deep, ill-advised threes. This team has a problem with shot selection, and you can look no further than the star of their team. Sometimes they just take deep threes early in the shot clock unnecessarily, and I think that it didn't come back to bite tonight, but it has come to bite them in stretches of, last year's playoffs and this year's playoffs. In game 2, they had a stretch in the third quarter last game where the run that the Heat made didn't have to be as bad as it was. And part of the reason they made that run was because they took quick, deep threes early in the shot clock. And Kevin Huerter is one of those guys that, sometimes needs to chill. Obviously, Gallinari isn't a super reliable guy when it comes to shot selection. He's a tough shot maker. So that means that he can take some tough shots. And sometimes those aren't the best shots needed at the moment in time. But we saw a lot of defensive adjustments, though, from Atlanta just throughout the game. We saw them go through a little bit of a matchup zone at moments in the second quarter. And we saw a lot of icing. That's one thing I noticed to Jimmy Butler. In the drop coverage, forcing him and funneling him to the baseline. And in the beginning, they were a little slower on the rotations. That's how Bam got a couple of lazy layups. But Kevin Huerter in particular from the weak side kept doing a good job of sliding over in the second quarter. They were jumping the passing lanes and shooting the gap. There was an audio clip of P.J. Tucker talking, and he was saying that the Hawks are shooting the gap. DeAndre Hunter and Kevin Huerter were able to get their hands on some balls. Well, maybe not DeAndre Hunter, but Kevin Huerter got a steal, and I remembered. I can see it in my head. And the Hawks were pretty aggressive on defense, and they got in transition and got a couple of buckets. DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, they were making their open threes. Gallinari shot 1-3, made it. John Collins shot 1-3, made it. And I remember DeLon Wright coming off the bench. He was a plus 23 in the game, ladies and gentlemen. Plus 23, the highest plus minus of any player on either side. He played good defense. He had 13 points on 6 of 6 shooting and took it to the basket on fast breaks. Trae Young hit a logo 3. He had not really hit many shots in that first half. And when he hit that logo 3 and the Hawks went up 8, the crowd started getting going, and you knew the momentum had started to shift. Tyler Hero was fantastic coming off the bench for the Heat. Maybe their best player tonight. Coming off screens, getting into his mid-range, getting to the basket for floaters. His Euro step. Tyler Hero just showing all of his bag tonight. 24 points for him. He was the leading scorer on the Heat. 10 of 22 from the field and 4 of 11 from deep. But the Hawks outscored the Miami Heat 39-30 in the first half to take a 61-54 lead at the break. I thought it was a really good half, almost picture perfect. The pace that they were playing with was great. Bogdanovic hit a couple of threes. And Trae Young, despite not having a great shooting night, was still taking care of the ball a lot better than in game 2. He had 10 turnovers in game 2, only 3 in game 3, and was finding guys on kickouts when they were doubling him with the switch-heavy defense. Obviously, when Dwayne Dedmon comes in, they go to drop coverage and just focus on the rotations. But with Bam Adebayo, you're going to get switch-heavy. A lot of jumpers from Miami, by the way, in that run in the second quarter, and it was the same story in the fourth quarter when they blew another lead. A lot of jumpers. Not many, not having Kyle Lowry in the fourth quarter really hurt. He had a hamstring injury and he missed the fourth quarter, and that really helped the Hawks get back in it. But before the Hawks got back in it, there was a 21-0 run made by the Miami Heat at the end of the third quarter. And a lot of it was forcing turnovers in the Hawks. They were getting rattled. They were making mistakes, rushing shots. Max Strus was having a really good quarter, getting down transition, also making open threes. A lot of different guys scoring for the Heat. Bam Adebayo started getting a couple of buckets. He had 13 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals in the game. I still don't think 9 shots is enough for Bam. If he's going to shoot efficiently like that, five shots, that's kind of the same thing I say with Deandre Ayton. Even though I think Deandre Ayton has a lot more scoring skill than Bam, I think Bam, has he improved at all? Like, that's my question. Has he improved at all? Because if he has, we need to see him be more of a guy that can create his own shot. The only shot I can remember that he tried to create today was in the mid post late in the game, jab stepped like 5 times and bricked. You're going to need, if you're going to want to be a championship team, you're going to need better scoring than just Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry and the team and Tyler Hero. You know what I'm saying? Because I just don't, by the way, I want to say about Jimmy Butler, he is scoring at a really solid level. He had 20 points tonight, though, on 40% shooting. The Hawks did a good job of trying to make others beat them. But Jimmy Butler is just not, will stand by this, and I'm a big fan of his. He's not going to be the best scorer on a championship team. He's just not. I don't think he will be. If I'm wrong, I'll be glad to be wrong. I'll be ecstatic, actually. But I just don't believe he will be. I don't think he's got enough skill, as crazy as it sounds, scoring the basketball. And I don't think that this team is, they're fairly gritty. But it just, that 2004 Pistons team is the one outlier everyone's going to move to when it comes to not winning a championship without some ridiculously elite scorer. But the number of star caliber players in that team, I consider those 5 all-star caliber players in that team. I know some people don't mess with Tayshaun Prince like that, but man, you got your guys like your 5th scoring option or 4th scoring option, and he's guarding the best wing defender. And then your other guy that's not a scoring option is an amazing rebounder and the best interior defender. So they don't really have that. They have Max Strus. You know what I'm saying? He's a solid player, but he ain't Tayshaun Prince. Anyway, PJ Tucker, he was doing an incredible job in this run, keeping Trae Young in check. They were getting really physical with him, and he just wasn't getting clean looks straight up. 21-0 run, as I said. A lot of second chance points as well for Miami. But the Hawks kind of weathered the storm towards the end of the third quarter. 31-16, though, in favor of Miami in that third quarter. And then fourth quarter, it was a totally different game. The Atlanta Hawks started playing some better defense, but it started with them making shots. And once you make shots, the crowd gets into it. The momentum, it's all about momentum in the playoffs, and these crowds are different. They can ride you home. They can get a team rattled and start making them miss in ways, getting in their head a little bit. You can just feel the energy in the building. I've even there were even games at the Rec when I was a kid. And I remember when the crowd used to start getting going on the other team in the second half, and I used to get full court pressed. I started feeling it a little bit. I was like, yo, God. And obviously I know at the NBA level, that probably happens a little bit. They're obviously stone cold. They've been in crazy atmospheres, but it's all relative, right? You can see it when they start missing shots. You can see it when the momentum shifts and a guy on the home team, you just know when certain shots are going to go in. If you've been to playoff games, you've felt this before. It is nothing like being a part of that. And the Atlanta fans, it wasn't necessarily one of those we're not going to let them lose kind of nights, but they pushed this run forward for sure. Bogdanovic, it became the Bogdanovic show again in that fourth quarter, hitting his threes. He hit 2 corner threes, I believe both from Trae Young's assists. So with Dwayne Dedmon in the game, Trae Young wasn't getting to switch everything. He was able to get blitzed, make a pass, and get the defense in rotation, scrambling. And they found Bogdanovic for some threes. And I believe one time also just loading up on isolation on Trae Young, trying to work one-on-one, found a guy on a kick out. Bogdanovic, 2 threes. And Onyeka Okongwu, I think, is the unsung hero of this game. Unbelievable in drop coverage and pick and roll defense on one side, getting blocks, timing things perfectly, doing a great job staying in between ball handler and his man. And then finishing on the other end, a putback dunk and one, I believe, on Bam Adebayo. Just really, really making hustle plays. And then Trae Young started getting going, and that's when you knew the Hawks could ride this home. A logo 3 and one. The refs started getting him to the line, started calling the game a little bit more generously for him. And the Miami Heat, they kind of fell in love with that 3 ball to an extent and weren't getting many easy baskets. 40, not to an extent, actually. I'm looking at the numbers now. 45 3-point attempts, only 14 makes. Tyler Hero shot 11 of them, made 4 of them, so that's not bad, actually. Max Drew shot efficiently, but everyone else, I mean, Jimmy Butler, I know he made some threes last game, but he shot 5 times and made 1 of them. So they can do without Jimmy Butler shooting 5 threes. PJ Tucker, 1 of 3. Made one in the corner to give them a 110-109 lead. That was a big shot. Kyle Lowry, 2 for 6 from deep. Gabe Vincent, 0 of 5. Duncan Robinson, 1 of 4. Another game for Duncan Robinson, not great. He has a short leash because he's not really doing anything else besides hitting threes and moving without the ball. His defense is mediocre at best. He's probably a net negative on that end of the floor. And Spo's not messing around. Only got 14 minutes tonight. So 7 minutes the last game, 14 tonight. You're not going to capitalize on your opportunities. You're not going to get many minutes on this Miami Heat team. And the Heat didn't really play many guys that much for that long. They went 10 deep, but Caleb Martin only got 1 minute. So they really went 9 deep. And Dwayne Dedmon played 13 minutes, Robinson 14, and Gabe Vincent 18. So only 6 guys played 20-plus minutes, whereas for Atlanta, 8 different guys played 24 minutes or more. That would be Okongwu, Bogdanovic, and DeLon Wright in addition to the starters. Gallinari, he started getting less minutes as the game went on. He had 11 points, and I believe at least 5 of those were in the first quarter. He was 4 of 7 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3. He did his job, I guess. John Collins, though, he leaves a lot to be desired. 2 for 6 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, 6 points. I just played solid in the first half, but I'm not going to complain because the Hawks won, but this guy has more potential than this, and I just think he doesn't believe in himself, really. But anyways, Trae Young late. PJ Tucker makes a 3 to put the Heat up 1 on a Jimmy Butler assist. Jimmy Butler also made a nice fall-away 3, the same type of 3 he made in Game 2 to clinch it. But Trae Young what happened was the Heat had the ball with a 1-point lead, killing some clock, but Jimmy Butler lollygagged on the ball. It was a bad possession, was forced into a tough shot, fully because, in my eyes, Jimmy Butler held the ball too long and was just doing a little too much. And Smart taking a page out of the Ime Udoka playbook here, not calling a timeout. I'm saying that lightly, obviously. I know that's been going on for decades. The team's not calling timeout to catch teams in transition late. But Trae Young got to the rim or got to the paint and hit a game-winning floater, just like we saw against New York in Game 1 last year. His second playoff game winner, ice in his veins. He didn't have a great game, but he made the big plays when they counted, kind of similar to Ja yesterday. But I like the way Trae really ended the game more than Ja. Ja was more of a combination of his teammates and a barrage of choking. Miami didn't really choke that hard. They still had to make the plays to beat them. It wasn't like they went into some humongous drought. And I didn't really see the game from the Heat, why they went wrong. For what I saw, too many threes, mid-ranges being passed up for more threes, and no interior buckets, no easy points. And that's just the thing for a lot of teams these days. At least with Jimmy Butler, he's got the mid-range. But they're going to need Bam Adebayo to be more aggressive scoring and show a little bit more on that end for me. Kyle Lowry not playing the whole fourth quarter, though, was huge. And that they missed him a lot. His late game experience, he only had 6 points and played only 23 minutes. 2 of 7 from the field, 2 of 6 from deep. But yeah, the Atlanta Hawks getting a huge win. Trae Young played big when it counted. After that's the sign of a true star, when you're not having a great game, but you're able to close. And that was Trae Young tonight. 6 of 14 from the field. That field goal percentage, I promise you guys, looked a lot worse, but he got the job done late. 2 of 6 from deep. Both of them were logo threes. 10 of 12 from the line, so he got to the line more tonight. Obviously, home-centric. You're going to get more calls at home. 24 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, and only 3 turnovers, so he took much better care of the ball. Thought DeAndre Hunter, maybe been the most consistent player for the Hawks in this series, arguably. Either him or Bogdanovic, I'd say. 17 points for Hunter, but no rebounds, no assists, no steals, no blocks. Well, that's pretty rare. 7 of 13 from the field, very solid. 2 of 6 from 3. Could have made one more. Kevin Huerter, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists on 5 of 13 shooting, and 1 of 8 from 3. So entirely too many threes. I witnessed him take some bad ones. He needs to relax with those. Can be much better with his shot selection. But in the end, they got the job done. Off the bench, though, the Hawks got such great production. Okongwu, 9.6 rebounds, a steal, and 2 blocks on 4 of 4 shooting. And that doesn't even begin to explain how important he was in that fourth quarter, because defense doesn't go in that box score outside of steals and blocks. He was awesome. Bogdanovic, again, another incredible performance off the bench. 18 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and only 1 turnover. 7 of 17 from the field, and a very efficient 4 of 9 from 3. And then DeLon Wright, as I said, 13 points on 6 of 6. So great stuff from the Hawks overall. Even though they got out-rebounded by 9, they made the big shots. They made big shots when they counted. For the Miami Heat, Tyler Hero, 24 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, 10 of 22 shooting, and 4 of 11 from 3. No free throw attempts, but he played fantastic. Kyle Lowry, I already explained. Bam Adebayo, I already said, 13, 11, and 5. 3 steals, 5 of 9. Max Strus, 7 of 13 from the field, 5 of 10 from 3. 20 points, really solid game. PJ Tucker, awesome game, 11 points, 7 boards, and 4 assists, 4 of 6 from the field. Did a great job guarding Trae, 1 of 3 from 3. And then Jimmy Butler, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, was a great playmaker tonight, but just did not close. So he has to take some accountability for this as the closer. That's how the games go. 8 of 20 from the field and 1 of 5 from 3. Some bad threes as well. Big win for the Hawks. We kind of have a series on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. Kind of. At least we have a game 4 with importance. My pick before the series was Heat in 5. I'm going to stick to Heat in 5. Let's go to another series that I had in 5. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Bulls. And this game wasn't pretty from the beginning. With Middleton out, we talked about it last night on my recap with my boy, Oh the Great. Check that recap out, guys. Leave a like and a comment. Leave a like and a comment on that one as well. Remember, guys, to hit the notification bell on all platforms to know when I'm going live, when I release an episode. Hit it for the live so we can all go live together. But Milwaukee, right? We talked about how with Middleton out, is this going to be a deep, long series? And I'll tell you what, the Milwaukee Bucks tonight showed championship characteristics by saying, you know what? Y'all think it's going to be a series? Let's shut that noise down. Let's shut it down right away. They wanted to come out and make a statement. And that statement was started by one Drew Holiday, who I criticized for having a poor game in game 2 overall, not closing the game well. And he came out, blew by Alex Caruso 2 times in the first quarter, and I knew he meant business. He was guarding DeRozan, fighting over every screen. He was unbelievable. And one thing about the Bucks, their role players showed up from the beginning tonight. Bobby Portis, thankfully for him, he was okay. Came back today, hit a mid-range to start the game, cash. Giannis gets double teamed, kicks to Portis, 3-ball, cash. In transition, cash. And Giannis, he just kept making the right plays, garnering so much attention. He only had 18 points tonight, but he had 9 assists and 7 rebounds. And he was getting doubled all the time. And that doesn't just create assists. It's also about the hockey assist. He put the defense in rotation because they're doubling him. And when he's in transition, it's the same. And the Bucks were able to get in transition a lot more tonight because they got a lot more stops tonight. And the way they were able to do that was by neutralizing DeMar DeRozan. And the strategy there was to ice him. The same way I was talking about with the Atlanta Hawks trying to do to Jimmy Butler. They were trying to ice DeRozan to his left. So even if they tried to set a screen right, Lopez would just kind of angle himself to force him to his left. Holiday the same. They would sit on his right hand. And he made maybe one or two shots that way. He was pretty efficient, 4 of 9. But the thing was, they took away his shots. That's the thing. And they were very okay with leaving Nikola Vucevic open for that pick and pop. And he shot 8 of 17, right? Vucevic, 19 points, but 3 of 9 from deep. So they were going to take that. They were going to take that. And he got a lot of good shots. He needed to make slightly more threes, but maybe even sometimes pass up the 3 and get into a dribble handoff with Levine as a counter to that. Keep making the defense work. I think that's a decent idea going to the next game. But DeRozan, his shots were taken away. Vucevic, they were totally living with it. And I thought that not just, and by the way, I just want to say before I end on the Hawks game, Trae Young's defense was decent tonight too. He tried hard. So I'll give him that. But let's keep back to this game. Yeah. Drew Holiday, very aggressive. Bobby Portis. Giannis only had 2 points in the first quarter. It was on an and 1. Overall, just kept making the right plays. Grayson Allen came in, had 9 points on 3 threes on kickouts. So he was hitting, and he didn't have a good game shooting the ball last game too. I talked about how he and Pat Connaughton were cold. Felt like he and Pat Connaughton weren't missing tonight. Pat Connaughton finished shooting 2 of 7 from deep. But man, I don't know. It just felt like those two were, I remember them well. Let's put it that way. He had 11 points. 11 points for him. Grayson Allen had 22 off the bench, 8 of 12 from the field, and 5 for 7 from 3. Unbelievable night off the bench for Grayson Allen. It's exactly what they needed. And in the second quarter, just more of the same. 33-17 in favor of Milwaukee in the first, but the Bulls actually held up in the second quarter. Zach Levine was actually playing pretty well, hitting his shots, shooting the 3-ball, taking what the defense gave him, whether it was pick and roll, making some solid passes to Vooch for little push shots. And I think Vooch had a little bit more success on those push shots from 2-point range tonight than from 3. He was 5 for 8 from the 2-point, from inside the arc, and then 3 of 9 outside. So was efficient inside the arc. But I thought Brook Lopez got the better of him, both on the defensive end, and he got him in the similar situations on the other side. When Vucevic was in drop coverage, Brook Lopez had some really nice turnarounds over his right shoulder off the drop-off from Drew Holiday or Giannis. A lot more Drew Holiday. Because Giannis, I like how they figured out that Giannis running pick and rolls as the ball handler just isn't that effective. He's more comfortable as the roller, setting the screen, or just getting a normal isolation on the wing about 10 feet away from the basket. Because if you have to hard double, and it's not as easy to just load up the way teams are doing to guards on other teams like Trae, the way Kevin Durant gets the ball, Kyrie. They still load up on Giannis, but it's different. It's deeper. It's, you know what I'm saying? They have to cover more ground. So Giannis was doing better in the second quarter. He was getting to the basket in transition. A couple of times Vucevic got cross-matched onto him, whether in transition or just rotating on pick and rolls. And Giannis was giving him the business. Got by him for a dunk, hit a mid-range on him. Giannis, he can still do without some of the threes. He was 0 of 3 from 3 tonight, or 0 for 3 from 3 tonight. He hit 2 mid-ranges, but his jumper is still, jury's out on it for me with Giannis. It's gotten better, but the space, you got to look also, that's why you just can't look at, I always look at what your percentage is from that distance, but you also have to look at how you're being guarded. That's another thing that just doesn't go in stats, and that's why I'm so anti-stats in a lot of ways. Giannis, they give him more space than, say, even a Jimmy Butler from the mid-range area. Obviously, because he's a threat going to the basket, you have to pick your poison, but still, you know what I'm saying? It's if they really wanted to prevent the mid-range, they would press up and just have a guy ready to double him on the drive, but they choose to guard him a slightly different way. They'll live with the jumper because it's a bailout. Anyways, second half, DeRozan, after not having a great first half, and by the way, Caruso played well again. He tried hard. The problem with the Bulls is there are other guys outside of those three and then Caruso. There's no depth, and they don't make threes consistently. Like Kobe White just shoots as if he's like got the shot of like Devontae Graham. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of confidence in his jump shot. And he was 1 of 6 from 3. It was really frustrating in the second quarter, just getting 3 after 3. Levine was making the right plays. They were loading up on Levine on isolations. He was making the right play. DeRozan, same thing. And they were making the right plays for the most part, but no, they were not hitting. 9 of 34 from deep for the team. Patrick Williams, 0 for 4 from 3, 0 of 9 from the field. I mean, you're not going to get that. You're just not going to get a win against this team with your role players playing like that, and when they're forcing the ball out of DeMar DeRozan's hands. Zach Levine, again, another efficient night. 6 for 13 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. But that's not enough for me. He needs to go back to start playing. Like, I know, again, he looks injured, but if he's on the court, man, my rule is this. If you're too injured to play, you don't play at all. If you play, no excuses. And right now, Zach looks like he's capable of still scoring 20-plus points. I'm not asking him to carry a normal load. He clearly is not 100%, but he's good enough to be getting some buckets. And he should shoot more than this. He should be more aggressive than this. DeRozan's getting too much of a number one kind of thing now, and I've been saying it for a while, and I just think that Levine is efficient enough and creative enough and not much worse than DeRozan that it has to be this kind of disparity. I know Levine shot more tonight, but it's not about shot attempts. It's about touches as well. I just think there needs to be a little bit more of a balance here. But third quarter, yeah, it was just 18 points scored for the Bulls. They couldn't do it. Made some of the right plays and missed open shots, and then made some of the wrong plays. DeMar DeRozan, he was struggling passing the ball. They were exposing some weaknesses, passing going to his left, made some turnovers on some pocket passes. And yeah, he had 3 turnovers. Bucks just seemed to take advantage of every mistake. Drew Holiday was not playing games at all. At all. And they ran away with it. The game was over by the end of the third quarter. It was a commanding win. The defensive intensity was sharp. They wanted to shut down any noise of them having any chance to win this series. 111-81, a 30-piece in Chicago. Even boos raining from the crowd at times with the Bulls. And now they just got to win this next game to avoid, I don't want to say embarrassment, but without Chris Middleton, they should get one game at home. I expected him to get one game at home with Chris Middleton, so they got to win the next game. They got to respond to that. DeRozan, only 11 points. And mind you guys, this was only the second game of the postseason that the game was decided before the fourth quarter even started. The big boys, Giannis, Levine, DeRozan, they didn't even play in the fourth quarter. It was decided. The only other game that was the case was Miami and Atlanta game 1. So DeRozan, 11 points tonight in 3 quarters, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 of 9 from the field. They really cut off his shots. Nikola Vucevic, 19 points and 6 rebounds and 3 assists. And by the way, on a counter for DeRozan, he's going to have to go more ISO if they're going to do the same thing, like ice him on every pick and roll and just force him to pass. He's going to have to go more ISO. And if they're loading up on him the way they're doing to KD, same thing. Got to start your move deeper, 15 feet, even on the block if you can. Vucevic, 19.6 boards on 8 of 17 shooting, 3 of 9 from deep. Caruso, 9 points, no steals, no blocks, surprisingly for AC. 3 of 7 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, though. And I think all 3 of them were at least 2 of them were in the first half. Maybe all 3 threes were in the first half, to be honest. Zach LaVine, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 of 6 on 6 of 13 shooting. For the Bucks, Giannis, 18 points, 7 boards, 9 assists, 7 of 12 shooting, 0 for 3 from 3, but 4 of 5 from the line. So he didn't get to the line that much, but he made 80% of them. Brook Lopez, 9 points on 4 of 9 shooting. Thought he was really good. 1 of 2 from 3. 1 for 2 from 3. 18 and 16. That's 16 rebounds for Bobby Portis, who was phenomenal from the jump. 7 of 14 from the field. He's so important to this team. 4 of 8 from 3. Awesome. And then Drew Holiday, 16 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal and a block. 7 of 14 from the field, 1 of 5 from deep, but that doesn't even show half of his value. And Wes Matthews also, in 25 minutes, he was only 1 for 3 and only scored 3 points, but he was fantastic getting over these screens. They were all, that's why you got to watch the games. Wes Matthews, Drew Holiday, lockdown. And now we're going to end it with game 3 of the Pelicans and the Suns. And my apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for this, because the first quarter, I was watching the end of the Hawks game, and there was a delay in the Hawks game. There was apparently a mysterious box next to the Dominique Wilkins statue, and they delayed the start of the game. So that's really weird. But New Orleans I watched it. I turned it on late in the first quarter, and it was like a two-point game. And the announcer, Mark Jones, was saying that Deandre Ayton had an amazing first quarter. And that was something, where did we hear that, Dime Jumper fam? On my last recap, that Deandre Ayton needs to be used as more of a star, not just a pick and roll man. And I think there was a mix of both today. It was really healthy, and you got to give Monty credit, but you also got to give Chris Paul credit, because I told you, it's a players' league. You got to make those decisions on the court. Empower your big man. And he did just that. Deandre Ayton, by the time I turned on the TV, looked so confident. He had 13 points in the first quarter, which was his career high for a playoff game in a quarter. And when I turned on the TV, the Pelicans were already in their small ball lineup with Nance, and they were doing a really solid job. But JaVale McGee was absolutely killing on the glass, and he was going and taking advantage of mismatches. They were making JaVale McGee look like Wilt Chamberlain out there at times. Jump hooks, deep post position. Rudy Escar-Gobert needs to watch JaVale McGee and take some notes, because it's literally that simple. JaVale makes it look easy. He needs to look at that. He gets deep post position. He has good touch. He gets fouled. He crashes the offensive glass when they go small. But that being said, Cam Payne looked a little suspect in the first quarter. Throughout the game, honestly, he was missing chippies. He was turning the ball over, taking some really ill-advised shots. And, of course, when they were switching everything that forces ISO ball, Cam Payne, 1 of 5 tonight, 0 of 2 from 3, and 3 points, 3 personal fouls in 13 minutes. So they did a great job neutralizing him for the second consecutive game. And they ended the quarter well, the Pels, with CP and Ayton on the bench, 29-28. Second quarter, though, CP and Ayton restored order. I saw when Ayton came in, jump hooks from like outside the key. Great pick and rolls at Chris Paul. Drop coverage. You already know Chris Paul. They try to force him baseline or middle. Drops it off to Ayton for that little push shot. Ayton can dig that one dribble. Sometimes when the big does a good job and actually gets to the spot, recovers to him, he'll take that one dribble, turn over his right shoulder, a little shimmy shake in the key. Just beautiful offense tonight from Deandre Ayton. Chris Paul was making great reads as usual, point guarding it up. 14 assists again for Chris Paul, second consecutive game with 14 assists. And in typical Chris Paul fashion, 0 turnovers. Just the best assist to turnover ratio man in the history of the NBA. Best taking care of the ball. But I do think sometimes that comes back to bite him a little bit, like Isaiah Thomas said a couple years ago, because obviously turnovers are terrible. My pet peeve when I played, and still is to this day, even in pickup, is turnovers. I hate giving the ball away, but sometimes it's good to take risks because those risks will pay off. And I think LeBron, Magic do a really good job of that. And Chris sometimes a little conservative with the ball. I do think tonight, though, no issues with the way he played, obviously. Was doing a good job in this run that the Suns have of pushing the pace, throwing the ball up if he needed to. Landry Shamet posterized Jackson Hayes. It was very surprising. I've seen Sham have his fair share of solid dunks with the Clippers, but that was pretty impressive. And speaking of Jackson Hayes, he got ejected for a football kind of charge into Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder, obviously an irritant in his own way, kind of got under his skin and he lashed out like that. And it definitely was not something that benefited the Pelicans as the game went on. They got outscored in the second quarter, 31-19. The Pelicans just kind of went cold. And yeah, very stagnant as well, the Pels went. A lot of isolation for CJ. And by the way, Chris Paul, I remember saying last game that he can't guard certain guys in this series. But tonight, he took the challenge, and it was a huge reason they won. He was actually switching on to CJ McCollum and really holding his own one-on-one. And I think CJ is actually a decent matchup for Chris because I've always said since like 2014 that Chris struggles with quick guards. But CJ is not necessarily the quickest guard. He's strong, but Chris is also strong, and he just knows angles and is great one-on-one and gets to his spots. But Chris Paul reads up and literally studies the game like the savant that he is and knows what spots to sit on and he knows probably to force him to certain spots that aren't his spots. And he knows probably his tendencies. And you can tell by the way he guarded him, he did a good job on certain one-on-one possessions tonight. So credit to Chris Paul. He really led by example on both ends of the floor. He knew exactly what was needed without Devin Booker, and he provided exactly that, even at his age, 36 years old. We got to give him more credit for how old he is instead of just giving it to LeBron all the time. By the way, Deandre Ayton, 21 points in the first half. That was his most points for any half he's played in his playoff career, his very young playoff career. 59-48, the Suns at the half. But then the third quarter, the Pelicans made noise. And it started with CJ McCollum coming off the screens, going into that drop coverage, pull-ups, cash. Mid-range area, isolation needed, cash. I also think a couple of times Brandon Ingram had the ball, and obviously they're going to load up on him, double up on him. CJ McCollum, his spacing sometimes is the same thing I said about Kyrie Irving last night in my live, and Kevin Durant. I think it was Kyrie on one play, and Patty Mills and certain guys in the Brooklyn Nets. Their spacing when they're behind the three is terrible sometimes. You need to be one. Give your teammate with the ball a window and an angle to pass the ball to the point where you have to make the guy that's guarding you commit to either him or you. If you're standing 3 feet away, 5 feet away from him, I'm going to say 5 feet away because these players are all 6 feet, 7 feet tall, or even 7 feet away. That's easy. By the time the pass is made, he can get out there. You know what I'm saying? One pass away. Make sure you have a nice angle where he doesn't have to pass it too far behind him. And a couple of times, CJ McCollum was just directly behind Ingram, basically. One dribble, if Ingram takes to his left, the guy is right next between Ingram and CJ. But one time, Ingram still found him, like, basically found CJ behind him, basically, and he still made the three. And then Brandon Ingram started getting to his mid-range, whether it was off screens and drop coverage, same way CJ did, right elbow, or just posting up. He was dominating. He was in that isolation. And I'm starting to like Brandon Ingram's game more than Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young's. Well, Trae Young, I'll give Trae. He went to the conference final, so I'm not going to say Trae Young, but honestly, Donovan, maybe even both, because Brandon Ingram is a mid-range assassin. He's 6'9", and he plays defense, unlike those two I just named. I'll give them the edge for now because of their playoff experience, but by the end of this series, we'll see. I need a little bit more, though, from Ingram before I can say this. I need a Game 4 win, but I just love the way he's playing. I love his game, and it's built for the playoffs. By the way, someone else who played really well in this third quarter, Herb Jones, both ends of the floor. He was really attacking on offense, had some tough finishes at the rim, and then there was a nice steal he got and went in for a dunk. This was at the peak of the crowd hype for the Pelicans. They got some tough calls against them, though, I'm not going to lie. But Deandre Ayton continued to hoop. CP went a little bit cold in the third quarter, and we had a 2-point game going into the fourth. And then, unfortunately, guys, this is where the bad news comes in for me. And by the way, 31-22 in favor of New Orleans in the third quarter. It was a 2-point Suns lead heading into the fourth. And this is where I have to give you guys the bad news. The bad news is that I did not remember to record directly after the game. So I didn't actually end up watching the last 10 minutes of the game. I watched the highlights and I saw what really took place. I can't fully tell you why the Pelicans lost, but I can tell you this. Chris Paul. Again, just like game 1, 19 points in the fourth quarter from what I heard. That's just unbelievable. Or maybe 17 points. That's just unbelievable. And you saw the highlights. It was the same old. Valanciunas was playing drop coverage. Let me get to my spots. There was one time where they actually forced him to his left, but Valanciunas was just sagging off too much. He walked into it. He got to get his feet set. What do I say about Chris Paul? He can't stop on a dime going left and pull up, but he can walk into it if you give him all that space to set his feet. He did just that. But you can live with that, right? What you can't live with is him getting to his right, and he did that multiple times. You funnel him to his left, he finds a way to snake it back to his right. If you, as the big man, don't come up and funnel him that way or blitz his ass, you cannot let him move into that space. He's so crafty. He'll make the right read. He was doing exactly that tonight, stopping and popping, fading away. He's great turning his shoulders and turning his body for that right elbow jump shot. He's made his bread and butter on that for 15 fucking years. And he was doing it again tonight to his former team, mind you. And then at the end, up by 5, they put Larry Nance in to switch everything. And he had the better of him in game 1. And he got the better of him in this one again. Step back, pull back, snatch back, whatever you want to call it. Daggers. Chris Paul, one of the best in his era of shutting the door. He did it for my Clippers many a time. He's done it for the Suns, possibly even more in terms of ratio in terms of these 2 years with the Suns. The amount of games it seems like he's closed. And he did it again tonight. As for what happened with the Pelicans on offense, I can't tell you. Highlights only show makes. So it's disappointing to hear that they didn't come up with the win at home. It's really disappointing because the Suns they shot 4 for 26 from deep tonight. 4 for 26, 15%. They were so much weaker without Booker offensively, but because Ayton had 28 and 17, and by the way, that's not just a game of his life or out of his mind. He is capable of this. And I think the Suns, it's again, the key to the championship is Ayton. And obviously now Booker's health. 13 for 20 for DA. Unbelievable. Only 1 3 and he made it. But also only 1 free throw attempt, but he made it. And then Chris Paul, 28 points, 14 assists, 0 turnovers, just unbelievable. Player of the game for me tonight, probably because of his closing job. 10 of 18 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3. Did not hit the 3-ball well, but 7 of 8 from the line. Just unbelievable. Mikhail Bridges, another solid night. He's been probably the most consistent player in this series for the Suns. 17 points on 4 of 9 shooting. Only shot 1 3 and missed it, but was 9 of 9 from the line. Jay Crowder, again, he continues to struggle from deep. He had 10 points. He had a much better game. I think this was his best game of the series, but that's not saying much. 4 for 10, 0 of 5 from 3, though. And then Cam Johnson, who started in place of Devin Booker, 3 for 7, 2 of 5 from 3, 8 points. That sounds pretty efficient, but he was not as active as the first 2 games in my eyes. Didn't notice him as much in this starting role. Shamet, though, didn't play too great, but he had 5 points on 2 of 7 shooting. 0 of 5 from 3. I mean, this guy feels like he hasn't made a shot since he left the Clippers. But JaVale McGee, the star man off the bench, 15 points, 7 of 8 shooting. He was just awesome and dominated the small ball units for the Pels. For the Pels, it sucks because you're not going to get a game where the Suns shoot that poorly from 3. 4 for 26. I feel like that could have been their chance to win, guys. And now maybe the Suns have the confidence. They're really good together. Chris Paul's been there, done that. They have momentum. They could just get game 4 and then Book comes back game 5, or even if he doesn't and they finish in 5. I really hope the Pelicans respond and hopefully beat the Suns up badly. Hopefully Ayton and Chris Paul don't have as good of a game. But Chris Paul always plays well just because of how smart he is and his attention that he gets. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna, if you play him a certain way, if you don't have to switch everything personnel, he's gonna get his looks eventually or get looks for his teammates. So I don't see a blowout. I think it's gonna have to be a close win if the Pels win, but they can blow them out if everything goes right. Ingram, 34 points tonight, 7 rebounds, 11 for 19 from the field, and 3 of 6 from deep, 9 of 10 from the line. Another great performance by B.I. He's had such a good playoffs, but I didn't watch the end, so I don't know if he failed to close. Herb Jones, 12 points, 5 for 7, was awesome again. Jonas Valanciunas, probably his worst game of the series thus far. He had 11 rebounds, but 6 points, 1 of 5. They definitely need better than that, and he will be better than that. Jackson Hayes obviously got ejected with 4 points, only 10 minutes. CJ, and that hurt too, Jackson Hayes being out. CJ, 30 points, had a really solid game overall to me. Maybe he didn't close, didn't watch the end. 4 boards, 7 assists, only 2 turnovers, 11 of 23 from the field, and 4 of 11 from 3. But I just saw something that's appalling. 4 for 8 from the line. CJ, dude, 4 of 8 or 4 for 8? That's terrible, man. You got to at least hit 2, at least. You've been an 80% free throw shooter like your whole career. Oh, man, that's terrible. Free throws, guys, in the playoffs, it's everything. Oh, wow, he's never been a really good – oh, never mind. This is so weird. I'm looking at his free throw numbers, guys. You won't believe them. So he started out his career, his first 2 seasons, he didn't shoot even 70%. Then in 2016, when he broke out and won Most Improved Player, he averaged 83%. Then 91 in 2017. And then 2 seasons in a row of 83%. And then in the 2020 season, he goes down to 76. And then last year, 81. But for whatever reason, this year, he shot 70% in Portland, 71% in Portland, and then 67% in the Big Easy. So what the hell is going on with CJ's free throws? That's really weird and kind of concerning. But Devontae Graham, too, you finally got some shots made from him, too, for New Orleans. 12 points, 3 for 6 from 3. And then 4 of 6 for Alvarado, 9 points. It was a tough loss, guys. Larry Nance Jr., I actually think he played decently, but 1 of 8 from the field and 0 for 4 from 3. He did not have a good shooting night. And the Suns only outscored the Pels by 1 in the 4th, but it was enough. 114 to 111. The Suns take a 2-1 lead and handle their business with all the pressure on them. They ended up shooting 50%, though, besides the 4 for 26, and that's because of JaVale McGee and DeAndre Ayton. They also shot 22 for 27 from the foul line, 81.5%, so that was good. They lost the glass battle yet again by 10, but they had 26 assists to the Pelicans 17. They only had 6 turnovers. That's in large part to Chris Paul and the way he handles the ball. And they had 64 points in the paint, Phoenix. So there you go. That's it for me tonight, guys. I likely will not be going live tomorrow, even though there's 4 games on the slate. I will probably be live Sunday to recap everything, and hopefully I'll have a couple of series done by then. So it'll be easier for me to watch 2 games, not go live as late, and also remember everything and go more specific for each game. But I feel like I'm giving you guys a lot. 48-minute live tonight. That's an average of around, 16 minutes per game. So hopefully, I can't wait to get to the 2 episodes, 2 games a night lives, and hopefully some teams are eliminated by Sunday. So excited for that game tomorrow, though, Boston and Brooklyn. It's going to be amazing. But Super Chats are turned on if you want to drop $1 or a dime. Now I'm going to go to the live subscribers waiting oh so patiently in the chat. Good night, everybody. 48 minutes on the dot. Let's see what my boys are saying. Where them dogs at? Thank you. Just remember, Super Chats are turned on. Drop $1 or a dime if you want to donate to your boy. Thank you, just a guy on YouTube. My boy Kyle Dominic Yu with the unquestioned support. Unquestioned support. Or what should I say? The unconditional love. I don't know. Unwavering support is the word I was looking for. Only watched Crunch Time Hawks Heat. Well, you watched the best game. Didn't need to watch the Bucks beat the living crap out of those Bulls. Facts, but I did, so I get to recap it for you guys. Ryan says Caesar winning the chip this year. This is the best chance they've had since 2012. Pasha Man says, let's go. Celtics Dubs finals would be crazy if it happened. That looks like that's what I would lean towards right now, the way it's looking. If that happened, I really want to see how Ime and the C's plan against that depth lineup. Oh, you know what they're going to do? They're going to switch everything. That's what they're going to do. They have that personnel. If they kick our asses, I'd be really impressed. Okay, relax, Kyle. Let's get through the Grizzlies first. Let's finish. Let's go one game at a time. Enjoy the ride, guys. That's what I've learned after all these years. When your team's in the playoffs, man, enjoy the ride. Because then you'll find yourself like me, where your player's injured, watching you guys. And yeah, it's fun. I'd rather be at the games, doing vlogs still. TC says, I think the Dubs are going to win it all. Really could. It'd be huge for Curry's legacy, man. Huge. Kyle says, I want to believe we win it all, but I won't get cocky. Ryan says, freezing cold takes from TC. Bucks Bulls over. Yeah. I mean, let's see if the Bulls can win game 4, because then we'll have a 6-game series guaranteed, and that'll be fun. It always gets people to sweat a little bit in a 6-game series. Rank your playoff teams, Dime, and why? Maybe top 5? What do you mean? In terms of how good, like who I want to win right now, or how good they are in my eyes? And how close is it? It would be really fun to do a Western Conference semifinals preview for Golden State and Memphis. Yeah, I just don't know any Memphis fans, nor do I care to interact with them. I hate the Grizzlies. Oh, yeah, Brooklyn versus Boston over? Fuck no. Don't ever count Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving out until they're 6 feet under. Remember, Kyrie Irving came out from a 3-1 lead in the finals, not just bing bong. You guys need to give Kyrie some credit, too, for that. I've never heard anybody use that narrative. Kyrie came back from a 3-1 lead. Only LeBron. Anyway, Kyle's take says, did Bam get better at his mid-range? I remember Milwaukee dared him to shoot those, and the Bucks won that gamble. Right now, I'm not seeing much. If he did, I'm not noticing. Defense battle. 0-4 Pistons, 0-4 Pacers, 22 C's. It's kind of hard to describe the way the current Celtics play defense. It's very different than 0-4 because it's a different league offensively that you have to guard. The Celtics lineups that they play, they could use. It depends on who they're playing. I think the 0-4 Pistons are the best teams I've ever seen defend. But it was also easier to play defense back then based on the personnel. Different though. More physical. You have to box out more. I'm always going to take the Pistons. It's also what you were allowed to do as well. Showtime Nick says, I'm with you on Tayshaun Prince. I was still a kid back then, but I remember how much my dad enjoyed how the Pistons played back then, and I remember him liking Tayshaun Prince. Yeah. Come on, that Clipper crowd definitely helped when it came to the Utah trash choking. No, that was one of those games where we willed them to victory. That was one of those. But like, for example, the Pelicans game, it felt like it was for a second, but it wasn't. It was still too close. You know the team falls in love with the 3-ball when it's always drive and kick. I know this because the Dubs sometimes do that. Yep. Trae literally split 3 to 4 defenders for that floater. Facts. Was impressive. When's the play-in vlog coming? Tomorrow. It'll be out tomorrow. No, it's not out there yet. USC Trojan 16 says, I still have the Pelicans winning game 7. You're really pushing it there. Top 5 series you want to see in the playoffs. No finals, kind of like I did on Twitter once. Well, okay. Number 1, Suns and Dubs. Number 2, Celtics and Bucks. Number 3, Sixers and Heat. Number 4, Nets and Bucks. And then number 5, Celtics and Heat. Is BAI like 2 inches away from being KD? No. Guys, KD's 3-level scoring ability at his size is something we've never seen before in the NBA. And we may never see at that level again. I think we'll see players like that, but Kevin Durant is so one of one. I think Ingram's a little different. He's more mid-range oriented. He's just slender and got long arms. But you guys have to understand, Kevin Durant in his 3rd season was averaging 30 points in 2010. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's levels to this shit. Kevin Durant was ridiculous in year 3. Kevin Durant was better in the 3rd year of his career than Brandon Ingram's ever been. That's the God's honest truth. And I like Brandon Ingram. I'm a big fan, actually. Like, even in, 2011 KD, 2020 Ingram. Come on. 2021 Ingram. That was last year. That was basically an all-star caliber player versus 2012 KD. Not even close. 2013 Kevin helped the OKC Thunder get a number 1 seed versus this Brandon. It's not even close. So, yeah. Facts. We will see what Chris Paul does when it counts. We've seen him do first round. Chris Paul be dominant in the playoffs in the first rounds, but we'll see what happens when he gets to the Final Four. That's when Chris Paul falters, and that's why I don't rank him as high as other people do. Today, I was arguing with another kid that he's better than Isaiah Thomas all time. I just don't even hear that stuff. He says, I agree DA isn't consistent. That's the issue with him. It's also about the team making him feel like a star. You got to give him his looks. You got to get him the ball early. Kyle's take says, you think Luka and the Mavs can actually push these Suns to the wall? Does these Suns mean without Booker? I'm kind of interested to see what happens when DA meets a defender like Trae. DA's cooked Trae before. It's just a matter of how aggressive. Dre's gonna make life tough. He's gonna hold you. He's gonna make you work harder. He's gonna probably make you miss shots. But DA will give him the business if he wants to. If he's playing aggressive, gets deep enough position. Kyle Steak says, you want the Suns to lose? You kind of sound like that. Yeah, I don't like the Suns. Never have. Actually, I have a little. And when they were post-Nash for a bit. Showtime Nick says, I'm happy for Brandon Ingram to be able to play meaningful games and play well in them. Facts. We've all been waiting for this. Kyle says, Dime, B.I. was hitting a lot of clutch middies down the stretch and even some threes. I guess the Suns were just more the clutch team and making shots to maintain that lead. Wow, that sucks to hear. CB3 making every clutch play, especially facilitating because his jumper wasn't falling. Well, his jumper was falling at the end. There was also a time in the clutch where the Suns grabbed 3 offensive rebounds in one possession, and it led to a Crowder 3 to push the lead to 2 possessions. See, that's killer. You cannot give up second chance points, especially in the playoffs like that. I can't believe it either about CJ's free throw, says Showtime Nick. I had no idea until now. Kyle says, wasn't a 3, my bad, a long 2-7 on the line. Ryan says, Rudiger Madrid. I won't believe it till I freaking see it, dude. Where are your sources? Yeah, very close to joining Real. Not believing it till I see it, man. With Rudy. How good are they in your eyes? Says Kyle. Who's how good? Showtime Nick says, damn right, Kyrie did his thing. I remember the third quarter of Game 7 of the 2016 Finals. I was saying Kyrie was looking like 06 Finals Dwayne Wade. Also, Kyrie ate the dagger in Game 7. Top 5 playoff teams? What do you mean? I'm not understanding what that means. You keep asking me that. Did I want to win or that I think are the best teams remaining? Angel says it's annoying knowing that the Clips should be playing the Suns right now. I feel you. We would have been just coming back from a game tonight. Splice TV says, I don't think Clippers ever winning a chip, to be honest. Please stay on this channel and don't walk away, my friend. Please be here after every season because I can't wait to hear when we do. I'll rub it in your face. Imagine if it was Clips, Suns, and Booker injured. I know. Hey, thanks so much. My guy, June 28th, July. Always keep it showing the love. Fuck with you, bro. Thank you so much. Super chats are turned on for anyone else that wants to donate. Everything helps. You know, your boy's trying out here, trying every single night for you guys. Try to be as honest as I can with these and give you guys the content you deserve. I remember when KD was the youngest ever scoring title back then. Yeah, I was 16, he said. Showtime Nick says. Funny story. I actually wanted a Kevin Durant jersey when I was young. And I was like, I want to get it before everybody else does because he's going to be a superstar. I waited a year or two. Everybody started riding him like a horse. And it wasn't fun. I became a Westbrook fan after that. Even though I already liked Westbrook from UCLA, but he became my guy and I didn't care for KD anymore. But I was big on the KD train from the beginning. Angel Sanchez says, I think it's going to happen next year. Clippers winning a chip? Man, I hope you're right. I would cry. I don't even know what I'd do, man. You don't even know what this channel would do. Kawhi and PG are only getting older and considering the injuries they've had in their careers. Oh, you said I think it's got to happen next year. Yeah, I agree. Showtime Nick says, also, if anyone ever says Chris Paul's a top 5 point guard ever, let's not forget about when he lost to the Nuggets by 54 in a playoff game in 2009. What does no one ever talk about that? Because they weren't favored. Simple as. But that's crazy. I forgot about that. 54 is a lot. Chris Paul teams usually don't get blown out of the water like that. He never lets that happen, really. He gets mad. He'll do something, but I'll rewatch that game for sure. The teams you think are the best remaining. That's what I meant. Sorry. Number 1, the Warriors right now in the power rankings. Number 2, still have to say, the Boston Celtics right now. Number 3, the Bucks. And then I'll go with Suns and Bucks just because let's just say I feel Booker and Middleton coming back. And then the 5th, Miami Heat. Actually, no, the Philadelphia 76ers right now look formidable. So I'm going to put them in the 5th spot instead of the Heat. And the Heat are really good, though. But I don't know. I'm going to go with that for now. Oh, yeah, your take on Charlotte firing Borrego. I think there's been some problems with James Borrego. LaMelo Ball and him haven't always seen eye to eye from as far as I know. They don't play defense at all. He doesn't really adjust. There were no real offseason moves made. They still need a center. We talked about that in the preview with Asher early on before the season even began. They need a big man. So I think it's good for change, personally. Showtime Nick says, I don't think he should have won that series against the Nuggets, but losing by 54 is unacceptable, period. Yeah, I'd have to watch the game back and see. Is that it, guys? Anything else? About an hour at the hour mark here. Solid live tonight. Got through all of them. No? All right. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you guys on Sunday night. And the vlog will be out tomorrow. Please, when that releases, comment on it quick. Throw some likes on there. Retweet it, share it, whatever. The last vlog of the season. It's coming out tomorrow. Peace out, guys. Oh, let me answer these 2 questions before we get out. The next game, the closeout game, the Nuggets won by 21. Chris Paul didn't play well in that game either. Oof. Yeah. What would you do with Morris next year? Trade or keep? I think we trade him. Get a backup point guard. We already have too many scores and wings. He doesn't do enough when he's not hitting. I love Marcus. It's going to be tough to see him go. Anyways, that's it for me tonight, guys. Have a great night.